Oh, no. Are we on? We are on. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're getting close to the next day of reInvent. Hopefully you are here for BSI206, Scale BI to all your users with Amazon Q and QuickSight. My name is Sean Boone. I lead the product management team at QuickSight that is focused on enterprise BI and reporting. And today with me, we have Tracy Daugherty, who's our general manager, and then we have a great customer that we've been partnering with for many years, Capital One, that's going to share their story with QuickSight later today. Now, by way of agenda, we're going to start with an introduction to Amazon Q and QuickSight. Secondly, we're going to go into discussing deployment practices, specifically around managing access to your assets, managing capabilities, and managing querying and data. We're then going to take a look at recent QuickSight launches. By the way, I just checked the What's New page as of like 45 minutes ago. Did a little math because the data changes almost hourly at this point. We have 16 QuickSight launches since October. We have basically 8 of those in the last week, including some today. So if you haven't checked that, you're going to hear some of that as we go through the presentation. We're also going to talk about deployment and BI operations. And then our customer story, Capital One, is going to share with us in the second half of the talk. Again, with me today, we have Tracy Daugherty, who's our GM for QuickSight. Myself, I'm Sean Boone. I'm with Product. And then we have Teme and Peter from Capital One. Now, if you were to we'll start with a question here. What prevents data-driven decisions? Now, if you think that the answer is that we don't have enough data, I'm sorry, you would be incorrect. It actually turns out that we have a shortage in both data skills and staff, as well as we also spend an awful lot of time with the data that we do have, having to reshape that data, build new analyses, and do basic analysis. And then 75% of business users actually don't feel fully confident in their data skills. Now, with the QuickSight team, we come in every day and we are focused on how to enable business users and analysts to be able to work with data and meet them where they are. Right? So our experiences have to meet our customers where they are in their analytics journey. Not every user wants to interact with dashboards. There are plenty of users who want to build dashboards, but they're all different. They all have different needs, and they have to work together to do analytics in the organization. And so with QuickSight, we have a unified BI service that delivers modern dashboards, pixel-perfect reports, and embedded analytics. So you can embed these capabilities as well as use them inside of your organization. We provide great performance at any scale, and we're able to lower costs and you only pay for what you need. And so depending on the role that you have inside the organization, we have different pricing options for different users inside the organization. And then, of course, we have policy-based governance and security. And we have over 100,000 customers who use QuickSight today. You can see many of them on the screen here, including our guest today, Capital One. And then we have thousands of customers that embed QuickSight in their applications. Now, speaking to that earlier point, about how 75% of users in the organization either feel not confident in their skills. What we find with QuickSight actually is that a really important point here is that customers who use QuickSight, they see up to a 300% increase in their BI usage. So that tells us that we are reaching more users with QuickSight from their prior analytic solutions. Now, in terms of what you can do with QuickSight, obviously, one thing that you can do with QuickSight is you can create beautiful interactive dashboards. These dashboards have rich interactivity. They allow you to drill down. They allow you to filter data. They do this all with extremely fast navigation. They're accessible on any device. Of course, you can refresh the data for the latest data. And then we offer multiple ways to sort of publish your assets inside the QuickSight product. The second area that we have is pixel-perfect reporting for you in the cloud. So unlike dashboards, pixel-perfect reporting are those reports that you get in your email. You might get them from your bank or any other financial institution. I get one from my energy company every month. These are perfectly formatted reports that come in PDF, right? So if you have a table that has thousands of rows in it, it's really hard to bring that up on the screen in one shot. So those are the cases where you can bring these things into PDF, and of course you get all your rows when you go ahead and you save that to when you go ahead and print that. Within QuickSight, we actually have both authoring of paginated pixel-perfect reports and dashboards in the same experience. So all the work that you do with data, all the charts that you build, all the data sets, the calculations, everything that you use to build a dashboard, you can right inside the same experience create a paginated report right next to that dashboard using the same exact content. In fact, we even give you the possibility of just creating an interactive sheet, creating a paginated report sheet from an interactive sheet directly. So it's just a one-click stop away, and then of course you can move around the elements on the screen as you see fit. And of course this is serverless. It's auto-scaling to meet your demands. And again, you only pay for what you use. So with paginated reporting, we have different options for how much you need, and you can pay for that accordingly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, QuickSight is also embedded. It has the ability to be embedded, and we have thousands of applications that customers have built with QuickSight where they've embedded QuickSight capabilities inside their product. You can embed individual visualizations. You can build individual dashboards. We actually have customers that embed the entire authoring set of experiences inside their applications as well and provide those to their customers. So I'm going to transition a little bit and talk about Amazon Q and QuickSight. So the first thing here, this is, again, we're trying to make all of our users both more efficient, but also make the experience easier to use across the board. Because when you do that, you make it possible for more people to participate in analytics. So this first set of capability here is around our authoring experience. And with Amazon Q and QuickSight, you can use natural language to build visualizations, just like you see here on the screen. You can ask a question of your data, and then you'll get a result that's a visualization, and you can add that to your analysis, or you can add it to your pixel-perfect paginated report. You can also build calculations using natural language. I don't know if all of you love where putting all the parentheses go in a calculation, or what order the arguments go. Like, those are very common things that you have to do over and over again. But with natural language, you can just specify the calculation that you need, and then QuickSight will give you a best attempt at actually writing the calculation for you. I can tell you personally, I spend a lot of time building calculations. This saves me a ton of time. Finally, you can refine visuals once you build them inside the authoring experience. So after you've built a visualization, whether you've built it by hand or whether you've built it using natural language, You can make statements like highlight all the rows over 500 in red, and it will create all of the conditional formatting rules for you to make that happen. Now, the next thing that we have for readers and reader pros are these capabilities that add things like executive summaries on top of your dashboards. So you can see what's changing based on the current data that's in your business. So this will just give you key insights. It'll give you key trends on top of your dashboards. We also have a relatively new multi-visual Q&A experience. This lets you answer questions of data just using natural language, and then we give you a multi-visual response. And so what we have found with this experience is that customers sometimes come in with a very specific question. Sometimes they just come in and they just want to understand a little bit more about the data before they actually get in and do additional discovery. And so this multi-visual Q&A gives them multiple perspectives on the data. Now, one of the things that we just announced today is actually an integration with Amazon Q Business, where we're now actually able to bring in unstructured data that's made available to Amazon QuickSight from Amazon Q Business. So this is all of any sort of documentation that you have made available through Amazon Q Business. All of that information now can come back as part of the response for this multi-visual Q&A experience. And so you might get meeting notes or elements of a PowerPoint presentation that'll come back as part of the question and answer experience that you have in QuickSight today. This next capability is what we call AI-assisted storytelling. These are data stories. And simply what you do with this experience is you describe the narrative that you want to tell about your data. And the more information you give it, the better that it does. If you just come in here and you say sales, it'll produce something for you, right? But what we found is that if you give it some guidance about what you want the narrative to say, we'll then generate an entire story for you, describing key trends, describing next steps. And then again, one of the announcements that we had today was this integration with Amazon Q Business and unstructured data. It will now leverage that information when it builds the story. So that means that you're going to get more relevant stories inside of Amazon QuickSight when you build stories. The other part of this is that we now support the ability for you to add your own documents from your local laptop. So if you want to incorporate information from local files, you can upload them right here in the story creation experience. We just keep those files for the duration of the creation of the story, so they don't actually become part of the actual index that we save. And then your story has access to that information as well. And again, this all sits on top of all of the Amazon QuickSight capabilities that we have with respect to analytics and the governance we have around data, so that people only have access to the data that they should have access to. And again, Amazon Q and QuickSight is part of this larger Amazon Q suite of capabilities, right? So we have Amazon Q Business, where we've just talked about the integrations that we're doing with Amazon Q Business. We also have Amazon Q Developer. Again, we have Amazon Q and QuickSight. And of course, it's also available in Connect and in AWS Supply Chain. You can also embed these capabilities inside your applications. So you can now use these generative AI capabilities with QuickSight inside your applications. Now, I want to talk about quickly about sort of the activity of analytics in the organization. I view this as very much like a team sport. Everyone on the team, right, contributes to a goal. And in this case, it's about data-driven decision-making. And individuals on the team, they perform different functions. And you need everyone on the team to really excel in their roles to achieve your goals. And of course, in addition to the people and the players, if you will, you need an architecture, much like you need a stadium, an infrastructure to support team sports. And with QuickSight, we provide that auto-scaling service that is easy to manage and allows you to just pay for what you use. So when we look at the different types of roles that we have, or types of users that we have inside of QuickSight, we have administrators. Obviously, they're responsible for managing storage, managing users, managing AWS resources. And then you have more authors, right? These are the creators in the organization. They create data sets, they create analyses, they publish dashboards, and they share those analyses and they share those dashboards. And then the largest set of users, of course, are those readers. And those readers, they interact with dashboards, they ask questions of data. That's actually one of the things that we have now is every reader is now equipped with those natural language question answering capabilities that we have with Amazon Q. And they do things like configure alerts. So if something goes over a particular threshold, they want to know about it. And they do things like receive emails as well. Now with Amazon Q and QuickSight, we have a new set of users. We call these users pro users. And with the pro users, we have both admin pros and we have author pros. And for the author pros get some of those capabilities that I just described previously. They can build visualizations with natural language. They can build calculations with natural language. And of course, they can refine visuals with natural language. And then the reader pros have access to that powerful Q&A experience that I just showed you, as well as the executive summaries for dashboards. And they also have access to AI-assisted storytelling, the AI-assisted storytelling capabilities. All right, so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about managing access to QuickSight assets, data, and managing access to QuickSight capabilities. So at the core of it, these are the core assets that we have in QuickSight. We have data sources, we have data sets, we have analyses, themes, dashboards, and of course you can see the rest there on the screen. I'm just going to let this play out here for just a second. So really, everything that you see here, minus the enterprise data that's going to be managed by the data team, these are really all assets that are managed by the individuals who are administering the QuickSight system. And so if we start at the beginning, of course, you need to be able to connect to your data. And with QuickSight, we support connectivity to many, many different types of sources. And whether those sources are on premises or in the cloud, or if they're just applications, right? So you can connect to Salesforce, you can connect to Adobe Analytics, Jira, and so forth. And of course, you can connect to all your modern day databases, whether it's SQL Server, of course, Redshift, you can connect to MySQL. We also have support for Google BigQuery. We recently announced direct query support for Google BigQuery. We'll talk about direct query here in just a little bit. But today we had a very big announcement in the earlier keynote this morning, in Matt Garman's keynote, and that is the introduction of S3 tables. These are fully managed Apache Iceberg tables in S3, and QuickSight can connect to these tables that we have now inside of S3. So just in terms of what was new that was announced there, it's sort of outlined in green here, but effectively we have these new S3 tables that work with Iceberg metadata. And then with Athena, of course, you can just query these from a standard SQL select statement. And then effectively S3 and this iceberg capability, keeps track of where the data lives, all these Parquet files, and presents sort of that logical table for you to query data from. So if you just think about the size and how much data is actually stored in S3. So S3 stores exabytes of Apache Parquet data, right? And there are over 15 million requests per second to this data. And now with QuickSight, you're able to perform analytics on both tabular data as well as the metadata of unstructured data that is stored in S3. So there was a second announcement that came along with the S3 table bucket announcement, which was that there's also support for metadata on unstructured data inside of these tables. And ultimately, that data is represented as also as a table, a tabular data structure in the iceberg format as well. Now, to use these capabilities, you need to connect via Redshift and Amazon Athena once the S3 iceberg tables are enabled for AWS analytics and in the Glue data catalog. And that last piece that I just mentioned is currently in preview. Now, once we've connected to data in QuickSight, there are two different query modes that we support. So the first one is what we would call is Spice, right? So Spice, QuickSight is powered by this super fast calculation engine that delivers performance and scale regardless of how many users are active in the system. This is a purpose-built BI analytics query engine that also has storage associated with it, and it's called Spice. And the vast majority of queries that we have in QuickSight actually use the Spice route for query. The second route that we have is direct query. So for many data sources that we support, you can actually just directly query those sources right where they rest without actually bringing the data into Spice. And part of the reason why we're able to accomplish that is because we have this construct and this asset known as a data set that sits above those data sources, where you define your calculations. And then from there, you build your dashboards. And you also can build topics, and those topics power the data Q&A experiences that we have inside of QuickSight. Now, there are a couple different ways that you can manage access to data. The first one is managing your data security rules directly inside of QuickSight. So to do that, you use row and column level security defined directly on the data set inside of QuickSight. So the team that manages QuickSight and the assets that are there, you're able to define RLS and CLS rules on the QuickSight data set itself. So this allows you to, as you roll out these data sets with RLS and CLS, right, you can create a single dashboard for multiple users with different roles and different data access. To do this, to define these RLS rules, you use an entitlement table or you use a query that defines authenticated users. And then if you're not using registered users, you can use RLS tags for anonymous users. Now, the second set of row and column level security rules that you can have with respect to QuickSight and how you can control access to data in QuickSight is to actually define the row and column level security information in the source system that you're pulling data from, right? Now, obviously, any user that connects to these systems coming from QuickSight, those rules that are defined inside those source systems are going to be respected. There's no, users aren't getting around those rules. But we have some unique capabilities when we pair them with a capability known as trusted identity propagation from Identity Center specifically, and specifically with two types of data sources. One, Amazon Redshift Spectrum, and the second one being Amazon Redshift data tables. And then today, there's a new announcement around the SageMaker Lakehouse capabilities. So this capability also comes with that set of capability as well. So what is trusted identity propagation? So this is a feature of Identity Center that just makes it really easy for you to centrally manage access to multiple AWS accounts and business applications. So you can see there's more applications that support Identity Center that you see right here. But of course, once you register your identity source with Identity Center, all of those different identity sources will work with trusted identity propagation. So when a user authenticates with the trust identity provider, AWS Identity Center can propagate the user's identity and permissions across the connected AWS accounts and applications. Just really quickly here, this is just a diagram that sort of shows that playing out in action. Of course, you have your data owners. They're responsible for defining row and column level security in these systems of record, whether it's AWS Lake Formation or Amazon Redshift. And then, of course, what happens then is the user who's authenticated at the dashboard level, their identity is passed all the way down into those source systems, and whatever rules are defined at the source system are respected for that user. So what this enables today in QuickSight is for you to build direct query dashboards with this trusted identity propagation feature. Again, we still have support for Redshift Spectrum and Lake Formation support. And with this, you also get auditing in CloudTrail for all the data access events that occur. We also have CloudFormation support for this. And we also announced account level, or we've had for a while now, account level AWS Identity Center instances for cases where you don't have an organization-wide IAM Identity Center instance. So then the next thing you have to do is customize access to QuickSight capabilities. And we do this through custom permissions for users and roles. And so you can see these different permissions and the roles that are the capabilities that you can control right here on the screen, particularly around things like creating and updating data sets, running anomaly detection on dashboards and analyses, or creating shared folders or renaming folders. You can apply these capabilities to either users themselves or to the roles that we have in terms of readers, authors, and so forth. And so then one pattern that we actually see is organizing and sharing content via folders in QuickSight. And this diagram really just talks about the individuals that are owners on particular folders, what they have access to, who they can share with, whether their permissions are inherited with other folders based on a subfolder that's been created. And there's three types of individuals in this mix. So the first one is the folder owner, who owns everything. It'll be the folders, the analyses, the dashboards, the data sets. They can create and edit, delete the assets in the folder, and modify their permissions on the folder and its assets. And then you have contributors, and contributors can create and edit and delete assets in a folder just like if they were an owner, but they can't delete the folder, and they can't modify permissions on the folder or on any of the assets. And then you have viewers, and those viewers can only view the assets that are in the folder. All right, I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit here. All right, so governed asset sharing with restricted folders. So shared restricted folders in QuickSight are a special type of folder. And the main thing to take away with this, or two things to take away with this. One, you create these via an API, and the main benefit of creating shared restricted folders is that no content leaves the folder boundary, right? So this is a place where you can put users and you can put content, and you know that that content will stay always in that folder. And we now have support for subfolders for restricted folders. All right, I'm going to talk quickly through some QuickSight launches before we bring up our guests. So really important launch here for people working in teams, the ability to import visuals. So what I mean by this is that you can, as an author, you can search any dashboard or any analysis that you have access to, and you can now import visuals from those other assets into the current analysis that you're working in, right? So if, you can imagine a scenario where you might want to use the same chart in more than one dashboard, I can guarantee you probably everybody in this room has had that need at some point in their QuickSight journey. So now you can simply import that, and when you do, we bring over the data set, we bring over the filters, we bring over anything that's needed to render that visualization. So this allows teams to sort of work together. You can have people working on one set of visualizations, another group of people working on another set of visualizations, and they can all bring that together in a final analysis. This next one we're really excited about is the integration of a custom chart type inside of QuickSight. We're actually integrating the HighChart's core visualization library inside of QuickSight. You can see several examples here that we've added to our demo site that shows you what you can do with the HighChart's visual. These are charts that go a little bit above and beyond the native QuickSight charts. They allow you to create things like pictorial charts, radial bar charts, and as you encounter more use cases and more scenarios in your organization, you're apt to run into a need for some of these more less commonly used types of visualizations. So things like network diagrams. We even have support for like a rich text visual, sunburst charts, and literally there are hundreds and hundreds of different variants that you can build. And the way that you actually build these is we have a JSON editor that's included in the product, and you use the JSON editor in conjunction with a set of QuickSight functions that let you bind data from QuickSight into the visualization. We introduced prompted reports for reporting. This just allows your readers who have reports to be able to set the prompts that they want. And then, of course, as part of that, they can then schedule reports for themselves, right? So they can set all the filters, set all the prompts, and then specify when they want that content delivered. We have customers who want to brand QuickSight to make it look like their own internal applications or the external applications that they have, or their own branding. We have a brand customization feature. It lets you customize the look and feel of the application and the content inside of QuickSight. You can change the logo, you can change the favicon, all the color theming, and of course we have API support for this as well. With identity and user management, the recent addition that we have here is the ability for custom permissions now for IAM Identity Center users. So we had some customers who were looking to migrate to IAM Identity Center, and one of the things that we had as a gap between our current capabilities and the Identity Center capabilities was support for custom permissions, and so we've added that very recently. All right, so I'm going to go a couple more points really quickly with respect to deployment. Number one, we have APIs to deploy and manage users, dashboards, themes, data, and all the assets that you have in QuickSight. We have capabilities, assets as bundles and assets as code. We have a recent addition to asset as bundles that now includes folder support. So if you have folders and subfolders, they can now be used with assets as bundles as well. And then, of course, we have integration with EventBridge. So you can use QuickSight events to programmatically hook up your operations and do your backups and your deployments for all of these. Whenever there's a change to your dashboards or a change to an analysis or change to a data set, all of those things happen in EventBridge, and then you can launch either your deployment or your backup or your changes that way. Of course, for auditing and logging, we rely on CloudTrail. So you can use CloudTrail to answer questions like how many users have seen this dashboard, which dashboards has this user seen, who's created a new user, created a new data set. All of these events are logged with CloudTrail, and you can access that information from there. I'm going to skip through this because we're going to talk through this at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Teme and Peter from Capital One, who are going to share their journey. And this has been a long partnership with us on the QuickSight team for Capital One. So I'll let you guys take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. A lot of exciting things happening in the QuickSight space. We're really excited to partner with AWS to share our journey on QuickSight. At Capital One, we say data is the air that we breathe. Every opportunity that we get, we try to make it faster, easier, and safer for the thousands of business associates that we have and for the 100 million customers to access data to make data-driven decisions. And today, we're excited to share with you on how we did that, leveraging Amazon QuickSight. I'm Temesgen Meret. I'm a director of engineering in the data storage and consumption group at Capital One. And with me is my colleague.
I'm Peter Tyson, engineering lead for Enterprise BI, including QuickSight.
So in the next few minutes, we will be talking about a little background on our company, and then we'll share with you our QuickSight journey, where we started, where it is now, and the exciting things we want to do in the future. Peter will also be sharing some interesting example use cases that you can relate to. Our hope is that throughout this presentation, you will find nuggets that you can take to your workplaces and apply. Yeah, as I shared at the beginning of my presentation, data is the foundation at Capital One, and it has been that way since the founding in 1994 as a credit card service provider. And on top of this high-quality data and great data foundation, Capital One has built great technologies. At heart, we're actually a technology-first company with a mission to change banking for good. The past decade, we've been going through major tech transformations. It started around 2013, where we embraced microservices and adapted open source mentality and started rebuilding our tech stack and infrastructure. And then a little after that, around 2016, we made this strategically bold decision to go all in on the cloud, including our data ecosystem. In addition to all the benefits that the cloud provides, we also wanted to ensure that our engineers' time is spent building high-quality products, software, and high-quality models, and less time managing infrastructure. Because of that, we're also leaders in the adoption of serverless. It was around this time, in 2019, we also needed a cloud-native enterprise BI solution, and that's where we started looking into QuickSight. Adapting a platform mindset and converging the different lines of businesses into using standard enterprise platforms was another major strategy that we executed in this decade. And there are other major things that we did. But fast forward today, we sit at the forefront of AI, leveraging AI and ML to the millions of customers because of the foundation that we've been building and the investment that we've been doing the past decade and more in modernizing our data ecosystem and also software technology. QuickSight today is adapted at a very large scale at Capital One. Every line of business is using it. We have 16,000 and more active users using it daily, more than 120,000 unique reports being run monthly. Okay, there are 2,600 unique dashboards. We're very good at grooming and ensuring that we only keep active dashboards. Okay. And it's very fully integrated to our data lake and to the rest of our ecosystem. In terms of how QuickSight fits as part of our overall data ecosystem, we've built a very robust data lake house leveraging Amazon S3 object store as our storage. And on top of that, we bring various compute engines that are compatible with the open standard that our lake uses, both for the file format and the table formats. QuickSight and Enterprise BI tools sit on top of all of that in providing an easy access to this lake data to create visualizations and reports and dashboards for our business and data analysts. You might have heard Sean talk about unified environment as one of the pillars for leveraging QuickSight to enhance your data-driven decision, and that's what we're doing. Although we could have created QuickSight into multiple AWS accounts for each line of business, we chose to do it in a single AWS account managed by the enterprise, and we believe that's giving us an edge in terms of speeding up users and use case onboarding because we can pre-configure most of the data source connections and data sharing. In addition to that, as a financial services company, we have to adhere to a lot of compliance rules. And at Capital One, we have this philosophy that we do not, before we build tools, we will not ask to people, we will not be enforcing any rules. No rules before tools. Because of that, our team, like Peter's team, has built a lot of automations to enforce these compliance standards, which is easier to integrate to this single account. So in general, this deployment, we find it to be more efficient in terms of centralizing the management and administration of QuickSight. It's probably good to give you a little bit background on why we chose QuickSight, again, so you can pull some nuggets out of that. And so our objective is very simple. We want to make it quick and easy for our business associates, internal Capital One employees, to access data to make data-driven decisions. With that objective in mind, we had few key principles, pillars that we needed as we were looking for this cloud-native enterprise BI tools. The first thing is, whatever we choose, it needs to be well integrated to our environment because we want a seamless experience for our users. And this integration could be with other operational applications that we have. It could be with our data ecosystem. But being integrable was a key pillar that we were looking into on a good BI software. The second thing, which will not come as a surprise for you, as financial services companies, security and data governance is what we live on every day. And being able to easily secure and also having the capabilities to easily govern the data that's being accessed through QuickSight is another key pillar that we had looked at. And when we talk about governance, I also put cost in there. This being a consumption-based tool, you need to govern usage and cost. So being governable was one of the key pillars that we looked at. Capital One is a large company. it needs, whatever we choose, it needs to operate at the Capital One scale, and we're continuously growing, so it needs to be scalable to grow with our growing demand. We also have, as enterprise teams within Capital One, we have very strict SLAs with each line of business. Because of that, whatever tool we choose, it needs to be reliable, including high availability, and we need good support so we can be responsive to our customers. And last but not least, whatever we choose, it needs to be a vendor tool that's being invested on. So these were a few key things that we had looked into. And although not perfect, QuickSight checked most of the critical boxes, and that's how we started our journey in 2019. But the very exciting thing is, throughout these 5 years, we've seen QuickSight close most of the gaps that we identified, and we're really happy with the pace of innovation and the time it takes from when we provide a product feedback to where we see it in the product roadmap. Outside of that, the APIs allowing us in that integrable aspect of what we're looking for, being cost efficient, and of course, running on AWS makes it very easy to integrate with the rest of our services on AWS. On this last point regarding fast pace of innovation, I wanted to validate our perception with some objective metrics, and I actually reached out to our AWS partners, Sean, Tracy, and team, to look at what happened in the past few years in terms of product releases. And as you can see, just in the last 2 years, QuickSight has been able to release more than 150 features, out of which there are key features like click embedding and the pixel perfect reports. And these are all capabilities that we are also internally able to take into the lines of businesses and add value. And looking at what we did in the past, what really excites me is what's coming in the future. In this AI-driven era, although as financial services organization, we need to do our due diligence and go through our AI governance to explore and get these new capabilities approved. I feel very confident, based on our partnership so far, that soon we will bring AI-based experience and make generative BI a reality to Capital One customers and users, which will make it even quicker and easier. With that, I want to pass it on to my colleague, Peter, to share with you some interesting business cases that we solved using QuickSight.
All right. Thanks, Teme. So we've highlighted a lot of the architectural choices that we've made in Capital One. We have a large, unified, single environment that we've deployed at scale. So today I want to talk about some business cases and tooling we've built on top of QuickSight that helps to enhance the developer experience for our end users. So quickly, I just want to highlight BI adoption has exploded in Capital One. We've seen a 400% increase in usage of our BI tools, including QuickSight, since December of 2022. And some of that can be attributed to common enterprise trends like an expansion in the amount of data at Capital One. But we've also seen QuickSight emerge as the leader in large-scale embedding use cases. And we want to talk a little bit about why that is. So some of these decisions are pretty obvious. Why you would choose a tool like QuickSight over building something yourself and embedding it, or why you would embed QuickSight rather than building something yourself. The time to market is much less with a tool like QuickSight. Things like security, all of the chart library, connections to enterprise data sources, all of those things are taken care of as part of QuickSight. Scalability. When a team is thinking about using QuickSight, they don't have to consider the dashboard portion of their application in their capacity planning. It's all taken care of. and an integration with our enterprise API gateway. And I want to talk about the API gateway specifically. So in this context, the API gateway is an enterprise solution for all APIs inside of Capital One. But what this means for QuickSight in specific, we have taken care of all of the infrastructure required to embed QuickSight inside of outside application. And if you're familiar with embedding in QuickSight, oftentimes IAM is required. You have to set up IAM roles, IAM policies. A trust has to be established between an outside application and the QuickSight application. And for us, this takes time because two teams have to get involved. It's a very manual process. So taking care of the infrastructure greatly sped up the time to market for our end users and developer teams. So a process for us that used to take days or even weeks is now completely self-service for this embedding portal and can take minutes. And I want to highlight one use case, major enterprise-wide use case that has chosen QuickSight as the tool for their dashboarding. Raptor is the system of record for resiliency and disaster recovery, which is a foundational metric that's captured inside Capital One. Every application has to go through disaster recovery testing, and QuickSight is the tool that tracks for executives and engineering alike disaster recovery failures, successes, recovery time, and things like that. And it's all embedded within this Raptor tool. And specifically, I want to highlight one thing about QuickSight and the reason that it was chosen as opposed to building their own tool. The Raptor team specifically said that they were able to dedicate their engineering resources to building the product, and other resources like data analysts were able to work on the dashboarding, and it could be scaled up or scaled down, changed easily without having to affect the parent application. So for them, they called out a 25% reduction in effort for that Raptor team. All right, so we've talked a lot about advantages of a single unified environment deployed at scale, our QuickSight environment. But I want to talk about a major challenge that we faced with QuickSight. So mentioned we started our QuickSight journey in 2019. After 5 years of deployment at scale, we noticed that there was a large inventory of stale reports that were in our QuickSight environment. And there's a number of disadvantages to this. There's a risk of decision-making on stale data. And so what that could mean is someone could stumble upon a report and accidentally use it as a source of information. There's always the risk that if someone gained access to our QuickSight account, the footprint of reports, including stale reports, would be larger. We're seeing an increase in SPICE costs as a result of having such a large stale report footprint. And what we found was that no enterprise solution yet existed for an automatic cleanup of a QuickSight account. So we started to work with the AWS team, and we started to think about how to implement such a solution. And when we were thinking about the design and architecture behind automated cleanup in QuickSight, we had a couple of founding principles we really wanted to stick to. We wanted to give our end users self-service access to the inventory that was being cleaned up. So it was completely transparent to all of the users exactly what the inventory was, and they could see it at any moment. We wanted to provide an easy way to opt out of cleanup, either on an ad hoc or a permanent basis for critical yearly or quarterly reporting. We wanted to drive the cleanup directly off of the data the end users were accessing. And then we also wanted a way to archive all of the dashboards that were being cleaned up so they could easily be retrieved if they needed to be restored. And this is what we came up with. So just to break down the components of this design, the foundation of any cleanup is metadata. And we could probably go through an entire a separate conversation on our metadata process and how that works. But in terms of this discussion, we use a combination of CloudTrail and the QuickSight API to gather metrics around the inventory and usage of all of our QuickSight reports. And then for dashboarding, this is a no-brainer. We use QuickSight as the dashboarding tool that we source, and every QuickSight user has access to this QuickSight dashboard. Within the dashboard, we clearly displayed filters for metrics around the amount of time before a report gets starts being warned for cleanup, the archival period, and then we applied additional filters for permanent opt-out of reports. For the cleanup service, we chose AWS Batch. This is a great fit for our workflow, and this is just run on a scheduled basis. And then for archival, we use the Assets as Bundle feature, which is a part of the QuickSight API offering, which eventually lands in Amazon S3 with a lifecycle policy applied. And then to notify users and let them know of the inventory that's ready to be cleaned up, we used just simple email notifications. The email actually has a copy of the QuickSight dashboard download, so users can quickly in their email see the complete inventory of what reports they own that are about to be cleaned up. And to opt out of cleanup at any time, users can simply, or any user can simply access the dashboard, and their dashboard will fall off of the archival list. And we saw some both short and long-term advantages of this cleanup process. We initially, just right off the bat, saved 30% on our SPICE costs. We also cleaned up 35% of the dashboard inventory. And today, we're still seeing improvements. We maintain an 85% active report inventory. So 85% of the reports in QuickSight today have been accessed in the last 30 days. And we've aligned with other enterprise tools in the enterprise portfolio, like our Data Lake and Snowflake, for example, which have similar cleanup policies. So what are we thinking about next in terms of short-term goals for QuickSight? Probably not a huge surprise. These are things that were discussed earlier in this presentation, but we're focused on implementing AWS Identity Center. This will give our users single sign-on and MFA seamless experience that they're used to in other applications. We're looking to explore additional generative AI capabilities inside QuickSight. And then we're looking to enable restricted folders, which will give an environment like ours at a large scale a lot more organization for our end users. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Tracy. Thank you.
By the way, I'm Tracy Doherty. I'm the general manager of QuickSight. One of my favorite parts of this job is I get to work with a great team, I get to work with great customers, and I get to talk to customers and help them change how they do their business. I've only got a couple minutes before we run out, so I'm going to blast through a couple slides. I'm going to skip through a couple things, but I wanted to make sure you guys had a couple resources if you want to take your cameras out and go through this. If you're not a member of the QuickSight community, I would highly recommend it. It's where you get a tremendous amount of answers from fellow people, experts that work on QuickSight. And it's a growing community. It's actually the fastest growing one in AWS, so I'd encourage you all take advantage of that. The next one, and here's the thing again. I'll skip to this next one right here. And we also like to comment on experts in the community. And these are a set of folks that are kind of the champions in that community. And we very balanced, where it's a subset of our own staff, but it's a majority of customers that work on it. The other thing to highlight, these are the sessions that are coming up. The one thing that I want to make sure you guys do, if you do nothing else, go to Swami's keynote tomorrow. There will be a big, significant thing around QuickSight. I will just give you a teaser. It's a different way of doing data analysis through Gen AI. And so go to that. I suspect it'll kind of blow your mind a little bit, and then there'll be a session announced after that where we'll do a deep dive on it. So trust me, it'll be worth the time of that along with the other sessions that you have there. And then the last thing, go to the booth. We have that fully staffed. It will be very busy. It's right in the center hub on the back side. We have always staffed people there. There'll be a line of folks, and they'll answer whatever questions you have. I'll spin by there occasionally. Sean and team will be there, but it's really worth the time and energy. It's some of our best people there, and they love to work with customers. And before I just say thank you on a quick note, the team really does live and breathe how do we make people make better data-driven decisions. And so that's why when you looked at the things that Sean and company talked to, that's why we do pixel perfect reports, dashboards, Q&A through NLQ, data stories, embedding. The whole point of it is how can we get the data to the people wherever they want to use it and leverage it as much as possible. And everything that we do is built around that. All the way from our architecture to our pricing is all built on that model. So thank you all.